Get started. Um, this is a product demo come webinar, and I'm your host Ritu, and I'm joined by my co-host Tyler, who won't be speaking, but he's helping me in the background. And together we manage PPC Ninja's services and tools. We design the software and also the services. For those of you who are new to PPC Ninja, we have a whole suite of tools for managing your PPC. At the moment, we're focused on sponsored products, and in the near future, we'll be rolling out AMS support as well. On the services side, we have the concept of microservices, where we jump in to help you with short engagements that can help you, improve the quality of your PPC overall. And we also kind of model it with an ASIN. We work with you, and then once we're done with the engagement, our goal is to educate you and hand it, back to you so that you can be a PPC Ninja yourself. So, so let's get started. So today we'll be covering three aspects of our tool, and these are bid management, target ACOS management, and budget management. So, we're going to spend about 30 minutes, so it's going to be short and informal, and feel free to, ask any questions in the chat box, and Tyler is going to be helping me with that. Let's get started. So first of all, I wanted to go over bid management, just touch upon a few concepts, not too deep, but then we will go and look at how we can do these things with the software. So about bid management, I wanted to highlight the fact that bid management is obviously the core of your PPC management efforts. And, it's probably the thing that everyone struggles with the most, like how much should you bid on a keyword, right? And every keyword is like a battleground, right? You want to make sure that you bid just right so that it shows up in the search results when people type your keyword and your keyword shows up. This is Amazon's algorithms will often prevent you from showing up from your product and your ad to show up because maybe you bid too low, or there's too much competition and your bid wasn't just enough. And so, the goal in bid management is to basically make sure that you're preventing wasteful spend, you're not overbidding, and you have just the right keywords to be able to bid at the right amount so that you're also profitable. But then you also want to make sure that you are leveraging the opportunities that are out there. You don't want to bid too low because if it's too low, there is okay, I'm just going to make sure that I think somebody's audio is interfering in the background, so I'm just going to, sorry about that. So we just want to make sure that we leverage the opportunity we have with bidding at the right amount so that we can show up for enough impressions and also convert profitably. So here's a 2x2 grid that we look at bids with respect to the ACOS that those keywords are delivering at. So if we look at these four quadrants, I've divided them up into high ACOS, low ACOS, and then low bid and high bid. So let's start with the top right quadrant, where we're saying that, let's say you have this pool of hundreds of keywords, you pick up one keyword and look at it, examine it, okay, analyze it. You're saying, okay, so this keyword has a very high ACOS, and then you're also bidding very high on that. And unless there's a reason for you to be bidding high on that keyword, for example, if you're launching a new product and you want to make sure that you rank for certain keywords, you probably don't want to do this long term. So you would probably want to lower your bid to prevent wasteful spend. Let's take the lower right quadrant. Your ACOS is pretty high, and your bid is low, so that's good because you want to keep it low. Of course, it's not good because the ACOS is high, but you do want to make sure that your bid is low, but then you should also examine your listing for any potential issues. On the left side, we have, when your ACOS is low, which is great, and you're bidding high, which could be arguable, like why should you bid high when you already have like a good ACOS going there? But the argument in favor of keeping the bid high there is to make sure that you can take advantage of the opportunity to always, retain your position in your rankings, and also play defensive. So sometimes, you want to bid higher on, let's say, your branded keywords that you really want, that have been converting well, and you want to make sure that you retain that position. So you would just, play defensive there. And then on the lower side, you have like a lower ACOS, but you also have a low bid. So here you have a little bit of an opportunity. You can incrementally test increasing your bid slowly, so that you do start showing up even more, and then you can lower, you can leverage that opportunity, to maybe convert even higher. So, with this kind of grid, I've just given it some reds and greens, just to see, okay, where is this bid currently, and then what to do with it. So, this is something that you would probably be doing, regularly. We obviously recommend doing this, through an automation tool. You could use PPC Ninja, or you could use any other automation tool that helps you manage your bids. But, even in addition to that, you might be requiring to, go in once in a while, look at your bids and make adjustments. And the best way to do that is manually. And I'm going to show you 3 ways that we can do that with PPC Ninja. And so the first way is to basically go into the keywords view, which I'll show you in just a minute, and you do a direct override. You just go and change your bid. The second option we offer is a bulk percentage change. So let's say for Prime Day, you wanted to, kind of filter out your top converting keywords and say, okay, I'm going to increase my bids on these because I want to retain my position. And so you can do a bulk percentage up. And then when you're done with Prime Day, then, you go back, and similarly for like seasonal events and, like the holiday season and so on, where you do want to do something in bulk, you have that option as well. And then we also have the third option, which is through our bid recommendations, which are generated once every week. You can actually go there and look at all your recommendations and either accept or reject. But then we also give you the opportunity to go and override our recommendations, so that, if you don't want to maybe go that aggressive, you could go and directly change those bids yourself. Okay, so enough talking. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So here is the keywords view on the left. And so these are all my keywords. And let's say I wanted to change the bid of this keyword. I could just go in, change it to whatever, let's say 42, and then just say yes, and it's, accepted right away. So that's one way. The other way is to maybe do some filtering based on ACOS, or you could go and select multiple keywords yourself manually, and then go up here and apply an adjustment right there. So adjust bids up by a certain percentage. Let's say you wanted to adjust up by 10%, type 10 and submit, and then you're done. I won't do it here because I don't want to mess with this. And so that's those are the 2 ways in which you can do keyword bid changes. The other way that I just showed you is through the bid recommendations, which are generated once a week. You can actually go and either accept or reject the recommendation. So for example, here it says decrease bid on this keyword from this to this. And let's say you don't want to, let's say this was like something really low, like 2 cents or something, or yeah, you can just go here and, edit it to whatever value you prefer. So that's how you can make changes to your keyword bids. Okay, moving on to the next topic, which is setting your ACOS target. So in the previous section, we talked about, high ACOS and low ACOS, right? We were trying to figure out whether, a keyword falls in the higher quadrant or the lower, but how do you decide what is, the right ACOS? Like, how would you set the threshold for high or low? So We have within PPC Ninja, we have the ability to set your target ACOS, which is obviously something that you can't do with Seller Central, right? You have to set it within our system so that we generate recommendations based on your target ACOS. We compare your current ACOS with your target ACOS and, calculate the difference and then recommend, a step down or a step up. But even even if you didn't use PPC Ninja, like in general, you should, know what your target ACOS is based on how much you're willing to invest. So it's almost like an investment threshold. Like for a sale, you're willing to spend, let's say, 20% of the sale value on PPC. But even more than that, you should be aware of your break-even ACOS, which is the absolute maximum that you're willing to spend, on promoting a product before it becomes unprofitable. So this is an Excel sheet, exercise that you probably need to do at some point sooner rather than later. And then once you have those numbers, then you can start setting those, per product target ACOS values within PPC Ninja. And here is a recommendation for you. I think you should try to set your targets not very drastically different from what your current status is. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say you are currently selling a product through PPC at an 80% ACOS. Okay, so that's a huge, and you want to quickly change that ACOS down to 15%, for example. So, when you specify 80% as your, when you specify 15% as your target ACOS, what happens is that, because it's after all a software tool, right? It's gonna try to recommend you drop, let's say, a bid that was $2 to 2 cents, which is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And here's why: because the moment you you drop your bid to such low values, it's not going to show up in search results. So you won't get impressions. And obviously, if you don't get enough impressions, you won't get enough clicks, and then you won't get enough sales. And so it's not a good idea to make such drastic steps, whether you use PPC Ninja or any other tool. So we recommend, doing this in a reasonable step-by-step approach. So let's say if your ACOS is 80%, try to set the target to 60% maybe, or after a couple of weeks or a month or two, set it down to something lower and lower till you reach your target ACOS. Okay, so let's look at how we can actually set these target numbers within PPC Ninja. So there's two places where you can do this. The first one is at an account level. So let's say I have this demo account, I want to set the target ACOS, I can just go here and set it. Or, if you leave this field blank, we will just assume 15%. And it's not that, just because you've put your target ACOS in, that your bids will automatically get, optimized based on that number. What actually happens is that we generate recommendations, which I showed you in the previous steps, and you have to actually go in and accept those recommendations or reject them. So this number is not going to, cause you any harm or damage, or it won't just start working automatically. It's not like a fully automated system. So it's, it's a good practice to evaluate this number from time to time. And like I said, make sure that you decrease your ACOS in steps. And then the other way you can do this is to go into the products view and go and set your target ACOS on a per product basis, and this would override the setting at the account level so that you can, focus your attention on specific products and make sure that, those are operating at a certain ACOS, and be specific about that. Okay, moving on to the next topic, which is budget management. And so, when it comes to budget management, most people think of it as something that you want to do in order to limit your daily spend. So you're like, want to make sure that you don't spend more than $20 or $30, for a campaign. And so that's the typical use that I've seen. But very few people talk about, encouraging sales, which is different, right? You want to make sure that you have enough budget so that Amazon does spend on the right campaigns that are converting so that you can maximize your ROI. And this is, obviously the trickier number to set, because you're worried that, you might overspend. That's typically the worry with sellers. So here's a little, again, 2x2 metrics, which I love, just to kind of figure out, like, okay, so, where are you at and what you should do about your daily budget. And of course, these are just two dimensions, and I'm using budget on one side and conversion rate on the other side. And obviously, it's not as simple as this. There's way more dimensions when it comes to, trying to calibrate your budget and also bids. But in this case, we're just taking two just to be simple. Okay, so on the right top corner, I have high conversion and high budget. So how do you tell whether a product is high converting or not? So the conversion rate is something you can figure out from your PPC data. You can find out, how many sales did you have for the number of clicks that you got. So that's the way to find out your conversion rate. If you don't have, any history in your campaign, so let's say it's a product that you've just launched, a campaign that you've just started, obviously you don't have a conversion rate, right? But let's say you do have the conversion rate from similar products that have sold in the past in your catalog, or if you have even a little bit of a history that gives you an idea of what your conversion rate is, then you can use those numbers. And the fallback is always, just using the average that Amazon has across the board, which is 10%. So with an average with an average conversion rate of 10%, you can do some calculations to see how how close you are to that or not, and then decide what your budget should be. So let's say you do have a high converting product and you've also allocated a high enough budget for it. This is an ideal scenario for profitability because, especially if your ACoS is good, you're converting high and you're telling Amazon, go ahead and spend because I want to spend. I am getting lots of returns, go ahead and spend. So this is probably the best spot to be at. Then let's look at here. It says high conversion and low budget. So you are converting really high and you've set limits on your budget. So this is a loss of opportunity because, obviously Amazon is going to stop when your budget has been used up. Whereas you don't want it to stop because, it's going to give you more sales and that's what you ultimately want. So this is a loss of opportunity, and we recommend increasing your budgets in order to capitalize on the great conversion rate that you have. Okay, and let's look at the low conversion side. So on the low conversion side, if you have, let's say, a low converting product and you set a high budget, what's going to happen is that, if it's really low converting, you're unlikely to get too many impressions anyway. So it's something that you need to troubleshoot. You probably need to make sure that your listing is better, because when people are brought to that listing, then they should buy, your product, right, and not move away. So in order to have a high converting listing, you need to make sure that it's fully optimized for images, for bullet points, for all the content, and also it speaks to the buyer intent that brought them in, basically the keyword, right? So there might be work to do there. Again, when it comes to low conversion, we do recommend that your budget should be at least, now there's this formula, and I know it's going to throw some people off, but I have another slide. Hang on, guys. The next slide is going to explain this formula in a little bit more detail, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's your budget should be at least 2x of 1 by conversion rate times the CPC. Okay, so let's dive into that. So we're trying to calculate what might be a good minimum budget to set. We start with the conversion rate. We're saying, okay, if the conversion rate is, let's say, 10%, the formula here, just plug it in and say 100 by 10 times the cost per click times 2. And I'm going to explain it in just a second. I have some examples here for you. So for example, your conversion rate, which you're just going to assume you're going to perform at Amazon's, average conversion rate across, the internet, which is 10%. So 100 by 10 means that you needed 100 clicks to make 10 sales. Or in other words, it is you need a total of 10 clicks in order to make one sale, right? So what does that mean? If each click is costing you $1, right, which is just, you know, the average kind of dollar amount that we see, you know, products converting at. So $1 per click makes it, you know, in order to have one sale, you need to allocate at least $10 for that sale, right? But you also want to make sure that Amazon has a little bit more room to play with. So you go ahead and just 2x that. You might want to increase that more, which is why I have this formula. So anything above 20 is probably okay. But if you want to be absolutely sure, because when you start a new, you know, you launch a new product, you're not going to get this kind of conversion rate. It's probably going to be lower. So something like 5 maybe. So if your conversion rate, you assume that a new launch is converting at 5, it basically means you need 20 clicks to make one sale, which means at the average cost per click of $1, you have to be spending $20 to make one sale. And then you just double that in order to give Amazon some room to play with. You get the point. Okay, so that's what, you know, that's what we do when we decide on the minimum budget for, and of course, just one thing to mention is that, you know, people also use budgets in other creative ways, which is that, you know, when they're testing out new keywords, let's say you have a campaign with a bunch of keywords that you're testing out, and you want to make sure that you don't overspend if you got the wrong set of keywords, or let's say those keywords just did not convert for you. They're just causing clicks and no sales, which is, you know, a bad situation to be in. So you want to be able to limit that. And the only way you have to kind of limit that spend for the campaign is to set a low budget. So that's one way to kind of control or manage your budgets. But you know, when you're absolutely launching a product and you want to make sure that you allow it to spend, maybe don't do that. Maybe make sure that you have a budget. You know, if I didn't know anything about your product, I would say maybe set it at 30. But yeah, don't quote me on that. Please do your testing, because, you know, PPC is all about testing and testing and testing more. Okay, so let me show you how we can set budgets within PPC Ninja. Okay, and there's two ways. There's a campaigns view where we allow you to do a direct override. So yeah, by the way, this is all synced, right? It's synced with Amazon Seller Central. So whatever changes you make here will be automatically reflected, you know, maybe a few minutes later in Amazon Seller Central. So you can make changes directly to in the campaigns view. Or you could do bulk adjustments. And when would you do bulk adjustments? You know, similar to the case with, you know, the Prime Day example that I shared with bids, you can also do something similar here with budgets. You want to make sure that, you know, for example, during Prime Day or maybe a week before, you are setting your budgets pretty high so that, you know, you don't miss out on the opportunity that, you know, comes with, you know, so much potential of sales. So this is the use case for being able to do bulk adjustments with your budgets. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to change your budgets. So in the campaigns view, for example, these are all your different campaigns. You can go here in your max budget and, you know, go ahead and change it right here. So let's say I make this $7 and say yes. So it gets reflected right away. And then the other use case could be, let's say, so I've just done it for you. Like I say, okay, for any campaigns that are delivering at greater than 50% ACoS. So I just put the number 50 here. So it's kind of filtered out all the others, and it's just showing me the ones that have an ACoS above this number. So I would just go and say, okay, check all of these, and, you know, either budget up or down. Again, it's a percentage. So I'm going to say down, and I'm going to say decrease by, let's say, okay, just for the sake of example, I'll just say adjust bids down by 5. I say submit. And so it changes the maximum budget on all those campaigns that you have selected. So yeah, so those are some of the, you know, cool ways in which you can use some of the PPC strategies that I showed you today. And I'm actually done with the presentation part of it. And so I'm open to questions. So if you guys have Any questions at all? Feel free to type in the chat box. I'll wait for just a second. You know, I know that people can be shy. And of course, like if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask us. Support@ppcninja.com. Also feel free to check out our website, www.ppcninja.com. Thank you. Okay, looks like there are no more questions or no questions. We'll wait for just a second. Okay, cool. Great. So just to wrap up, we went over three concepts, and I showed you a few neat features that within PPC Ninja that can help us achieve those strategies that I talked about: bid adjustments, target ACoS setting, and budget adjustments. Okay, so looks like there are no more questions. So I will wrap it up at this point, and you know, let us know, you know, if you have any feedback for us, because we would like to continue this format, pretty short 30-minute sessions frequently, so that we can answer your questions and be available for you more. So thank you, and talk to you next time.